John Thornton here, allproblogger.com with my Bengals draft recap. Um, I really, it's difficult to give the Bengals a grade. I think it's difficult anyway to grade a draft, but I know a lot of people like to do that. I just say there was a good draft in my opinion. There could have been things that they did better. It could have gone worse for the Bengals in different ways, and I'll talk about that a little later. But for the most part, I think it was a good draft. The reason why I say it's hard to give them a grade is because there was no free agency this year, so you really don't know what the Bengals' holes were outside of quarterback. You don't know what they really needed. If we had gone through a free agency period and you looked on the roster and you say, well, there's a hole at wide receiver, then they needed to get a wide receiver. Or you go through free agency, you lose Jonathan Joseph. You say, you know what, that first pick, they need to get Patrick Peterson. So right now, with the draft before free agency, I think they did a good job of acquiring players, acquiring talent, at least to make them a better football team at this point. Now, free agency is going to come at some point, and they're going to keep players and they're going to lose some players, and then you won't have the draft to supplement that. So I think the Bengals are going to have to be creative in how they go about shaping their roster just because of that, because you won't have the draft to back up your free agency. So it's a little bit different, but I still think it was a good weekend for the team. The first round pick, AJ Green, I think that was a no brainer. I know a lot of Bengals fans really said that, wide receiver, you can't take them, they don't produce. Peter Warrick this, or, whatever it is. I just think that AJ Green is an elite player. It's very hard to get elite players in this league. He was an elite player in college. It doesn't mean he's going to do it in the NFL, but I think he has the skill set. He has the size. The guy can run. He can jump. He catches the ball pretty well. So I think his transition, I think he should be bust proof. I don't think he'll go out there and just start dropping balls and things of that nature. I think he gives the Bengals a really good receiver this year, as a guy that's going to get better. So one of the things I've been talking about for the last few years is that the Bengals needed a bigger receiver, to be their number one guy in the future. So I think that's a good start with AJ Green, a 6'3.5" player. A guy that can be a big target in the red zone, a guy that can go over the middle, a guy that can stretch the field a little bit. There's something they really lack because all the other receivers are 6'1", Shipley short, Caldwell's a stockier guy, a stocky guy. He's not that lean guy that's going to go up and get it. So Jerome Simpson has the athletic ability to go up and get it, but he's very inexperienced. So I think the Bengals have a number one guy right now. I'm not sure if Chad Ochocinco is going to be back. Sometimes you listen to Marvin Lewis, he'll say that Chad's under contract. And the Bengals mean that. When they say you're under contract and they paid you a bunch of money, they want you to play out your contract. So that's one of the things that worry me, that they will keep him here. Now, I think Chad can still play. I think he can still play at a high level. But there's just been a lot of back and forth between Chad and Marvin. And I just don't know if either side will be good for each other if if Mike Brown made Chad Ochocinco stay. So that's why I'm thinking with the selection of A.J. Green that they may be willing to let Chad go now. Now, whether they trade him, whether they release him, I know that they owe him about $6 million this year, or at least his salary cap number is $6 million. That's a lot of money, so I don't know who will trade for that. But there's been a lot of conversation talking about Chad to the Jets, so maybe the Jets make a trade for Chad Ochocinco. Going to the number 2 selection is Andy Dalton. I understand the Bengals had a need at quarterback. Carson Palmer is not coming back. From the last time I checked, he wasn't. All they had, really, any guy with experience is Jordan Palmer. So they had to go out and get a quarterback. They tried desperately to get back into the first round, I think, to draft Andy Dalton. It didn't work. It worked out for them that he was there with the 35th pick, so they selected Andy Dalton. Now, if it was me, I've been talking about here on this site going out and get a veteran running back. A veteran quarterback instead of drafting one, because I don't think any of these guys are really ready to come in and contribute early. Now, if you had Carson Palmer on the roster and his contract was up soon, or you really wanted to develop a guy, and you felt like a guy like Andy Dalton was a first round player and he fell to you in the second round, then you make that kind of move. I can understand getting to Andy Dalton, maybe having him play behind your starter for a year or two and then saying this guy's going to be a hell of a starter sooner or later. But, drafting a guy like Andy Dalton coming from a spread offense, he's not really an overly big guy. He doesn't have a great arm. He's going to need some work. So I don't think he'll be a starter right away. And if he is, I think he'll have some limitations. And I wonder if this team is ready for a rookie quarterback. Are they strong enough defensively to handle a rookie quarterback? Can the offensive line protect him? He's not overly mobile. So there's some things you worry about. And I know people are saying, well, the West Coast offense this way. I mean, you really don't know what this offense is going to do. You don't know anything about Jay Gruden. I don't know anything about Jay Gruden. He was an Arena League coach. He coached with his brother in Tampa Bay Bucks. But we don't know what he's going to do at the helm. We don't know how he's going to react to Dick LeBeau's blitzes or, Ray Lewis and the Ravens or things of that nature. We don't know that. So we're just basically taking them, at his word. So I just think pairing that with pairing the unknown of Jay Gruden with the rookie quarterback, I just don't think it's going to happen right away. And they can't practice right now. I'm sure he's gotten some plays from the team and looked at the playbook or two, but I just think it's going to take some time. So I would have personally went out and got, I would have drafted a Ryan Williams from Virginia Tech. I know he's not a great blocker as a running back in pass protection, but I think he was the best runner in this draft. So that would have been a pick that could have, said, okay, we don't have to sign Cedric Benson now. We don't have to spend a bunch of money on Cedric. We can get a draft pick that won't cost as much. And, the guy has fresh legs. He can play. So I would have personally gone for a running back, but I understand why the Bengals got the quarterback. That remains to be seen whether this pick will pan out. And going to the third pick, Dante Moak, I think that he's a very athletic guy. I've watched Nevada play a couple times. And, just hearing different football people talk about him. I heard on NFL radio when the Chargers are on the clock in the second round, they said they should draft this guy. So, and the Chargers are a 3-4 team, the Bengals aren't. But I think that they'll use Moak in a 3-4 mode. Once they go to third down, they do a lot of 3-4 things Mike Zimmer does, a lot of 3-4 principles for the outside guys. And the Bengals linebackers don't really pass rush well. They don't blitz that well. So a guy like Moak, if he can come in here with some pass rush ability, he can make some plays on third down, similar to what they did with David Pollock. David Pollock really wasn't a base player, first and second down player when he got here to the Bengals. That really took a long time for him to play on first and second down. He was a third down guy. So they do that with Moak. I'll say that's a solid pick. And if he contributes on special teams, that'll be good. The fourth round pick, the guard out of Georgia, a lot of people like him. Like I said, I heard some football people that have seen him play since high school. They talk about his athletic ability, him playing all the positions other than center at Georgia, his versatility. I think that's good. He can come in here and learn from Paul Alexander for a year. Bobby Williams' contract is up. You never know what's going to happen with Andre Smith, Nate Livings. He's about, I think his contract is up. So the Bengals definitely need an interior guy to go forward with. So I think they're set on offensive line this year with their starters, with Andre, Bobby, Kyle Cook at center, Nate Livings at left guard, and Andrew Whitworth. So I think a guy, like Bowling can come in here and just learn and plug it in to whoever they lose in free agency next year. Robert Sands from West Virginia, the safety. He's a good player. I've seen him play a lot. Being from WVU, I watched all of their games for the past 4 or 5 years. I've seen Robert. I think he has some limitations in coverage. He didn't always take the right angles to get to the deep balls or passes thrown in front of him. But the guy is a very physical player. You watch his highlights on YouTube. If you haven't seen him play, go watch his highlights. I mean, he'll come up and he'll hit. And the one thing I really like about him is that West Virginia played a stack 3-3-5, and they used Sands a lot around the line of scrimmage. He blitzed really well. He timed it up well. So he understands blitzing. He understands making big hits, and he can get back there and play the center field at times. I think he'll learn a lot from Zimmer and Coach Coyle in the secondary. But I think he's a good talent, special teams guy, and I think he has a chance to start because I think the Bengals safeties both are coming off an injury. Roy is a little old, so Sands reminds me of Roy in a little bit. Not as thick as Roy, but he big hitter like that. So, the rest of the guys in the Bengals draft, they drafted a running back, a corner, a receiver. Those guys will come in. They'll see what they can get out of them, but mainly special teams players, guys to fill out the back of the roster. I don't expect much from them, but the first 5 picks I think were very productive. Like I said, the only thing I would have done different was draft a running back instead of the quarterback. I would have sent next year's number 2 to Green Bay for Matt Flynn if I really wanted a young quarterback. I mean, this guy, this is his 3rd year or 4th year in the league, and Matt Flynn that I'm talking about, a guy that's been coached by one of the top coaches in the West Coast offense, and Mike McCarthy up in Green Bay, and he has some game experience, a lot of preseason experience. He's been practicing against Dick LeBeau's #1 defense up there in Green Bay in practice every year, so he's used to seeing a blitz. He's taking snaps from center against the blitz, which I think Andy Dalton had trouble with. Playing in the spread offense, now he has to come in and take snaps from center with the guys blitzing in the A-gap, guys blitzing off the edge, and he has to keep his eyes downfield and make the pass. And that's just something that's going to take time to get used to. I just don't think he'll have that time this offseason to learn because of the lockout. So that's the only reason why I didn't like the pick. But as a person, I like Andy Dalton. He's won a lot of games in college. So, everyone says he's a smart kid. All of those things I think will help him out. So all in all, I think it was a good draft. We'll see what they do in free agency to supplement this. We'll see which guys they keep on their team. And a big thing is going to, be what kind of rules the NFL will have. Will it be 2010 rules where they'll keep Jonathan Joseph and all they'll have to do now is go out and get a running back. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, all in all, it's a good draft for the Bengals. A lot of good young guys that they can go forward with.